discover liberation just have vastly different understandings of what liberation is for.
I haven't seen this much importance and attention.
The story itself is a really wonderful, really great setup.
Tractor beam has been engaged.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tractor Beam Comics Reviews, your one-stop shop for in-depth commentary and discussion. Well, on the week, normally on the books that came out this week. Some books we're getting out that came out this week. Some came out on Saturday. Get to that in a second. And some books we're still catching up. But today is Wednesday, May 7th, 2025. It is the 19th and best week of comics in 2025. That's right. It is Free Comic Book Day week. It is Star Wars Ongoing 2025 week. Chris, are you excited? You ready to go?
Yeah, it's also High Republic week as well.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Oh, yeah. Valiant Vow. My copy came in for that.
Yeah, I'm already about a quarter into Valiant Vow. I mean, that's not a surprise because
Sure.
the book is at a middle grade. It's very fast to read through, but
Sure.
also got the Acolyte in from Amazon
Mhm.
when I got home from work today. So that's already next on. I think I'll read it. I know there's a lot of, it's good to inform the audience here. There is spoilers for one other character than Vernestra Rowe.
Really?
One other character's fate in High Republic is going to kill me. So I'll go ahead and read that before Jedi Trials because
Mhm.
it's not going to matter for
Yeah,
me.
the
But
Jedi,
if it is, I mean, the Tom editor at Del Rey,
Yeah.
Penguin Random Worlds, he was saying basically it's like, oh yeah, Obi-Wan talked about the Clone Wars. Like that's all the details you have about the battle that was at Marchion Row. Like that's the only other spoiler, if you call it that. So there's some information for those out in the webs that are going, because I was scratching my head going, I'm not going to read this because it's going to spoil the whole High Republic. No, it doesn't. They knew this going in, so it's going to be fine. Although the release order is still weird why they couldn't just push it back. But hey, that's publishing, and publishing has been kind of crazy lately.
Yeah, they wanted to capitalize on all the love and goodwill that the Acolyte got, right? Just kidding. Actually, you never know, right?
You gotta wonder, like, was this a reactionary order, or was this already done? No matter how this show is going to do,
It's probably already done.
Yeah.
It's probably already written. Who knows? Anyways, we're going to talk about comic books. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of things. We're going to talk about Andor.
Yeah, we got to go at light speed because there's a lot to talk about.
There's even a news story that I promised we talked about on Monday that I forgot. The Kevin Scott news hit Tales from the Shadowlands or something. I forget what it's called. We'll get to that next Wednesday. I forget because work was busy. Anyway, we'll dive right in. Get the plugs out of the way. You can follow us on Blue Sky at Ion Cannon, also on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Ion Cannon Pod. That's my main podcast with Joel Davis on Mondays, EYEONCANONPOD. And of course, you can follow everything Chris is up to at youtube.com/StarRaptor. That's StarRapter, and Twitter at StarRaptor, StarRapter. If audio is more your speed after we're done recording, I will throw this guy up onto Spotify and Apple Podcasts for your listening pleasure. Please do check out the Tractor Beam Comics Reviews Spotify and Apple Podcast feed. I think other podcast grabbers grab that RSS feed or something, and so you can catch it your favorite spot there. Last but not least, we are proudly part of the Star Wars Underworld Network podcast network. We got YouTube. Here on YouTube, we have YouTube memberships and we have super chats. If you comment, we'll get to it when we can. If you super chat us, I'll interrupt myself mid-sentence, mid-word if I have to get to your comment. We're grateful for any support you can provide. Also, the Discord server, Underworld Discord server, conversations still going strong. Joel and Ben leading the way there. So link in the description below. They are doing game nights, I believe, on Friday. They are doing Andor viewings and different things. So check that out. Link in the description below. Conversations about Andor, probably about Thunderbolts, different things going on there. But yeah, I think that gets to the plugs out of the way. Before we get to comics, as promised, we got to talk. Chris, are you okay? Are you okay?
Not really, man. That was emotionally damaged, and I'm still thinking about it. Oh my gosh, what a way to do the third act or the third arc of this. All things have been building up, and we get this huge, crazy crescendo into a climax. So it's just, oh my gosh, that's the heaviest Star Wars I've ever watched. I gotta say, it's the heaviest Star Wars I've ever watched, and that's saying a lot because there's been some really good stuff in the past. But this, this is the greatness that reaches the original trilogy in my eyes. Like, this is perhaps the best thing. I think it's easy for me to say from like an objective standpoint, like from production, writing, everything on that level. This is the best thing Disney has produced. I might be shooting myself short because we got one more week of this left.
Yeah.
I don't think this thing's ending in any way but a glorious fashion. But oh my gosh, I've never been that gripped by most TV ever, not even just Star Wars. Like just being gripped by the impending doom with the music, with what was happening, being very vague here. And then going into episode 9 and having a completely different version of tension with that whole storyline. And just as one door closes, another one opens, and that's how the episode ends. And I'm going, oh my gosh, they got me. They got me.
Yeah. Try not to be spoilery here too. We'll get spoilery on Sunday night and then on Monday night on our different podcasts. But yeah, it's brutal. It's they go there. They do not pull their punches literally or otherwise. Let's just say that. Yeah, in terms of quality, I mean, I can have some questions here and there. I won't say it's 10 out of 10, but pretty darn close, 9.5. You know me, I think Revenge of the Sith is the greatest film of all time. So that's that's kind of my own weird thing. So I'd say The Last Jedi still peak for me in terms of what Disney's put out. But yeah, I get what you mean. I get what you mean in terms of storytelling quality, twists and turns, playing with long-term fan expectations. Sorry, I haven't had my decaf tonight. Playing with long-term fan expectations, but also rewarding those, but also giving wider audiences something really gripping, meaningful to watch. That hopefully, as I was saying on Monday night, hopefully helps people connect it with the real world going on today. So yeah, we'll definitely get into more spoilers. I was riveted. I really loved it. It was on the edge of my seat the whole time. Definitely 9.5 out of 10. I'll say this arc was. I'm actually giving
10.
Yeah,
I don't give 10s. I don't give 10s ever. If you guys watch my YouTube channel, I think I've maybe given out 2 10s my whole life, doing this for almost 10 years now. That means a lot. Come from me doing 10 out of 10. There's no flaws for me in this at all. It does something that most entertainment does not do, which is it actually moves me on an emotional core, but it also leaves me the feeling as high as watching The Mandalorian season 2 finale with Luke Skywalker. Like, I was still giddy this morning when I woke up this morning. You
were giddy about that.
I was just like, I can't. Well, no, I mean, yeah, it wasn't like a happy thing, but it was like, I can't believe Star Wars can be this good.
Yeah,
like I can't believe that this space fantasy can go this hardcore to be not only great Star Wars, but great television. And that's where I'll leave it.
Yeah, and where I'll leave it is to say, sorry. Oh, 1 second. Keep vamping. I'm okay. I'm alive. Okay. Where I'll leave it is to say it's great television, and this arc finally is great Star Wars. And we'll get into more detail of that. We'll get into more detail about that on Outer Rim Transmissions. I will get into more detail about that with Joel and hopefully Ash on the Iron Cannon podcast. Check those out Sunday night and Monday night. All right, we got some comics to talk about. Again, it was the best week of comics because some of them are cheap as free. Go to on Saturday if you were able to get out to your local comic book shop for free comic book day. Pick up your books. Pick up the Star Wars FCBD. Pick up the Young Jedi Adventures FCD. We'll talk about that one next week. First up, we'll get to Star Wars FCBD, and the way we're going to do this is we're going to talk about the Jedi Knights story and the Legacy of Vader story, and then we'll combine the ongoing story with ongoing #1 in a little bit. Another amazing reason for this week being so great. First off, Star Wars Free Comic Book Day. The Moon of Death, written by Mark Guggenheim, art by Madabek Muzabekov, and colors by Luis Guerrero. And then Legacy of Vanee, written by Charles Soule, art by Stefano Raffaele, and colors by Nolan Woodward. Letters by VC's Clayton Coles, and cover by Phil Noto, celebrating a new era of Star Wars comics. Jedi Knights Qui-Gon Jinn and Tensu Run are on the hunt for the villainous Corliss Wrath. Who is the mysterious Vanee? What is his connection to Darth Vader and Kylo Ren? These were really interesting. I really enjoyed the little windows within both of these stories. Have already started, already a few issues in, and then we get a little bit of window, especially the one that stands out to me more, seems more memorable is the Vanee one. Just because, we finally get to, okay, why is he in this Bomar monk kind of thing? He really almost is this sort of anti-Yoda in the sense of, I mean, and it's literally in the script, right? There's another Skywalker, there's another Vader, and he really, it's leading to him seeing Kylo Ren almost, seeing Kylo Ren, could he be the successor to his grandfather's legacy? And that's, of course, what the entire comic run that Charles Soule is writing is all about. And so we get Vanee's perspective here and how he was really devoted to Vader, and he was good with being just this minion who did his bidding and became really good at it. And so Vader kept him alive and kept him around and kept him taking care of the barn there, the farm there on Mustafar. And and then when Vader died, in this wild moment, how devoted he was to Vader, that he held on hope. And he held on to the possibility that Vader was still alive. And then when he finally gave up hope, oddly enough, thinking these parallels, right? The way Obi-Wan gave up hope that Anakin would come back and turn to Luke, Vanee gives up hope that Vader is still going to come back. Goes into this pit of depression and of despair, but wants to maintain his own life and wants to stick around just in case something good happens, a successor to Vader's power comes along. And of course, we see in Legacy of Vader #1 the test he has, number 1 or number 2, I believe. Sorry, the test he has for a descendant of Vader, his bloodline, to be able to go into the castle, and how Kylo Ren is able to do it and shows up, and that's where this story leaves off. So that's kind of what my thoughts were. On this one, the Moon of Death. I'm trying to remember if there was wasn't too much to sink your teeth into.
Yeah,
kind of just the. No, I just say that just this mystery of this Corliss Wrath. We don't know. I'm still confused. I think, how does Qui-Gon never say he's never met him when he clearly just dueled with him? I don't understand. And what does Darth Maul come into this? But anyway, that's a whole other question that hopefully Jedi Knights deals with a little bit. But yeah, I'll throw this to you, Chris. Your thoughts on the Vanee story, and as well as the Qui-Gon Tensu Run story.
Yeah, so this is Free Comic Book Day, so there isn't much for us to sink our teeth into other than just doing a summary for these, because I wrote like 2 lines of notes, which are just so surface level. So even after reading these Saturday, I kind of forgot about them. They don't leave a super big imprint on my memory. So I mean, it is cool that we're getting this story first off for Vanee. He was included in the Lego Star Wars special a couple years ago. He wasn't in Vader Immortal, but he was in other Star Wars media. All those comics from Cavan Scott, the Vader's Castle and all those sort of things that kind of fleshed him out. But yeah, it was cool to see what led him survive that long, and how he was so devoted to Vader, the crazy devotion to this guy that just didn't treat him well at all, but yet he would still be a sycophant for him. kind of just for the power, I guess, to be surrounded by somebody for the power. And we get the idea of like why his body was the way it was in a droid when we've seen it at this point. Like he felt his body was literally failing him. So to serve Vader whenever his imminent return would be, he decided to prolong his life. And we've seen that in Star Wars. We've seen that with dark side users, such as the character that had been affected by the nameless Aslan Rel in the High Republic. So we've seen that humans surviving a long time. But this is a different way of doing it, that's for sure, the Bomar Monk way. But so those are my thoughts there for that one. And then getting into the Jedi Knights one, I thought it was pretty bold with a couple of these stories in here, how they are giving us like a puzzle piece in between issues or preludes to issues that are pretty important. Because I mean, at New York Comic Con at the panel, they're like, oh yeah, Tensu Run's going to be in here. Now, is this the issue they're talking about? Was Free Comic Book Day? I hope he returns in like an actual full on of the ongoing, like a full issue, not just like a third issue of a comic book, because I want to sink my teeth a little bit more into him as a Padawan at this point of his life. And it was cool to just see these guys walking around the underworld and just trying to figure things out. But yeah, this story is interesting to figure out like who this guy really is. What's this assassin? Of course, we know as watching Phantom Menace, like he doesn't die by this guy dies by Darth Maul. So how does that all factor in? They're gonna solve this, and they think it's behind them, and then he dies anyway. So
yeah, maybe that's leading to Qui-Gon being more not arrogant, because Qui-Gon doesn't get arrogant, but he gets at least doesn't worry about death as much. I mean, which maybe that's part of his character story in this, but yeah, definitely. I found the Vanee one much richer. But yeah, not to knock Mark Guggenheim, he's great, and it was a fun little story for Tensu Run. But yeah, if the one I'm going to remember is the Vanee one here. All right, we can move right along to Free Comic Book Day, the Alex Segura story, and of course, ongoing #1. Both of those written by Alex Segura, with again the art and cover by Phil Noto and letters by VC's Clayton Coles. This is for the FCBD blurb. Luke Skywalker finds himself in a wretched hive of scum and villainy, facing off against pirates. And then, of course, #1. Luke Skywalker must defend the New Republic from a bloodthirsty gang of mercenaries. Han Solo investigates a deadly underworld mystery and saves a surprising ally. Leia Organa must grapple with a new alliance opposed to the goals of the New Republic. It's your turn, Chris. I'll throw this to you. What do you think of FCBD and ongoing #1?
All right, so I want to talk about these two separate because that's how I read them.
Sure.
So for Free Comic Book Day, I liked it, but I found it very strange how Luke was aggressive. I feel like, especially after dealing with Vader and like coming to the terms of him like throwing a lightsaber away and all that, he came on like really hot. Like it almost felt like Sith Lordish, where I was like, dude, like I don't know, man. I like Alex's writing for most of the stuff, but like I feel like this was a little heavy-handed. He was literally like force choking a guy, levitating him over a ledge about to kill him. Like, wait, what? I thought Luke was like through being this. And I get like there are people that like regress to like different moments in time, perhaps, and he just like lost himself for a moment there. But I was taken aback, like, wait, what part of Luke's life are we in right now? I thought he was like calm and looking for force objects, and we see him in Battlefront 2, and he's like not killing Iden Versio's buddy Del Mico, like saving him and all this sort of thing. And we're seeing him doing this. I'm like, yeah, I guess these guys are criminals and all that. So it's not like he's doing this to an innocent, obviously, but caught me a little off guard. But it's still interesting because and then this carries over into the actual full comic that came out today. Was I like to see a surprising return of Luke piloting part of a squadron again.
Yeah.
Squadron 77. We know Rogue Squadron's out there somewhere. I would get a kick out of it if he ends up running and running Rogue Squadron at some point. I think there's some viability there. I know Wedge is still around, so I would love to see a reunion of these guys flying side by side once again. but it was neat to see. Okay, this is our first glimpse of what a post Battle of Jakku atmosphere looks like. Most of the Imperials have fled to the unknown regions.
Mm-hmm.
But as we see here, we have this Star Destroyer. So it's really cool, like, and shocking to see that. Like, oh yeah, we thought for sure, like, it's only been maybe a couple weeks, a couple of months after the Battle of Jakku, from what it seems like, and it's still a shock to see that, because we're like, wait, I thought the Empire was completely done, and we're seeing that there aren't any TIE fighters, which is interesting. There's just a bunch of hobbled together little ships, like the ones we've seen from the Poe Dameron ongoing by Charles Soule and Phil Noto back in the day. Like, you had a lot of these. There's a certain name for these ships in the Star Wars lingo. What is it?
Ugly?
Something like that.
Yeah, uglies, yeah.
Yeah. So it was the seeing that, but I mean, just kind of shortening up my synopsis here, I think it was great that we got to see a vantage point from Han, from Leia, kind of doing what these guys do best. Like Luke in an X-Wing, try to figure stuff out, try to get to a mystery. Yeah. Then you have Han dealing with like the underworld and these guys that are using Imperial armor. Then you have Leia doing what she does best, which is politics and dealing with the New Republic. And yet all these little separate things are actually connected to one another because they're all dealing with the Fenrir sector. So this was interesting because it's not dealing with the Empire for the first time with our heroes. So I was very curious to see how they would pull it off. And I think they did a really good way of doing a first issue to make it just tantalizing enough to make me really look forward to June for the next one. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Alex Segura, he did a great job of having three distinct stories. And I mean, the Luke story is both in the FCBD and in the first issue. Three distinct stories that are clearly going to come together, right? It's Leia's dealing with these trading partners, and the Republic gets kicked out of this trading conference because there's these emerging powers in the Fenrir sector, and they can't trust the Republic to fend off the pirates. Well, who's off trying to fend off the pirates? It's Luke, right? And he sees, oh no, they have a Star Destroyer. That's serious business. And what do we do there? And, how they have an Imperial Star Destroyer, formidable foe. That's why I call this episode out of the frying pan, because we just had Alex Segura with the Battle of Jakku, like you mentioned, and now they have more headaches to deal with in the galaxy, trying to form, as we see Mon Mothma and Leia, trying to form a legitimate government. That is a really fascinating question in our time, in this time period. The thing I'm really interested in is, with the Mon Mothma Leia political story. Yeah, and how Luke, you mentioned how he goes dark, especially in the FCBD. He dangles the guy over the ledge there. I mean, I see that might have been over the line. I don't think he was ever going to drop him. I don't think he was ever going to cause him any harm. But it does show how, I mean, one thing you messaged me, you were surprised at how tied he is into what the New Republic is up to. And he's all of a sudden, for some reason, he's handling security. He's handling kind of the border, the soft border that the New Republic has, and trying to do his best, kind of like we'll see with Carson Teva, for example, in a few years after this. So I kind of get what Luke is going for here. He's trying to put up a strong front for the New Republic, and he says, "It's New Republic, it's my business. New Republic citizens are my business."
Yeah, true.
And trying to get people to take the thing seriously. But yeah, it was surprising to see, again, especially like you mentioned after the Battlefront 2. The Han Solo thing, I mean, we don't see him first. Like I don't read these descriptions. It's interesting. Han Solo investigates and saves a surprising ally. We first see Byler. He's also dealing with the I think maybe dealing with the people behind the pirates, or some other, the shadowy organization that might have to do some dark side thing as well. Han's gonna be dealing with that. So we first see Byler, and it was this great reveal of Han.
Yeah.
Who, again, we've only seen him. I mean, the Battle of Jakku, in our real world, it was just so short. we see Han standing up, taking action. We do see him. We don't really see him much in Battle of Jakku, even.
No.
And of course, he's the Hansicle or the Hansicle. He's not in this at all, except for Mark Guggenheim's Han and Chewie series for a little bit. But that's Mark Guggenheim, yeah. Yeah, so that was cool. That was cool to see him really, that's one thing that Ethan Sacks has built up well, and in Bounty Hunters, especially, and just everything Byler's been involved in is his connection to Han and how they go. I mean, they go way back. They go all the way back to Korea Academy, right? And
yep.
And then we see Byler trying to save Han and being part of that effort.
Mm-hmm. For Return of the Jedi, he was going to give he gave the Leia and Lando and Luke the information to go and get that droid and take the droid. I forget what, there is a connection there somehow. So long ago.
Yeah, probably something to do with in Jabba's palace, but here they're going to be teaming up, and that's cool to see that. It is interesting. Again, the New Republic and Han's relationship to the New Republic is always kind of fascinating. Like, the good guys are also in charge, which is a fascinating thing in Star Wars. We just talked about Andor and how how terribly, that Andor is so typically Star Wars because it's the Empire. The folks in charge are up to no good. Here again, the theme here with all three of these is the New Republic trying to do good in the galaxy and trying to be taken seriously, and it's gonna be slow going. It's gonna be a long way forward. So great, amazing first start by Alex Segura. I'm on board. If it's great entrance ramp. I mean, that's why Free Comic Book Day, people showing up on Saturday picking up a free comic. Oh, Star Wars #1. Start this right on Wednesday, no problem. Hopefully this one sells like hotcakes as well. Do you have any further thoughts on ongoing #1?
Oh yeah, I have plenty. Plenty actually. So first of all, this really feels like a big extension of the Battle of Jakku. I mean, you have characters like Alacia, who is now a counselor to Mon Mothma and Leia, which is really cool.
That was cool.
You have Rin, who is just like the sidekick of Luke right now, right? So you have mentions of goodness gracious, what is the villain's name that was from Uprising and the lead villain? Ubrick Adelhard. Yeah. So there's mentions of that. So it's very much like, okay, Alex Segura did great because, like, the Star Wars authors are going to always put their own original characters in their newest endeavor. And so it really feels like a great extension of all those stories for sure. And I mean, I just like seeing the existence of the Empire, still at large, whether it be Star Destroyers, whether it be these goons wearing, Imperial helmets of whatever design. And one thing I wanted to touch upon is, I guess Chewbacca's back on Kashyyyk with his family, because why else would Solo need a partner? Like, he's always with Chewbacca. So that was my thought. It was like, okay, like Chewie's actually going to take a break for a while.
Yeah.
And this really felt like a Dash Rendar situation, like just having this smuggler Bylert with Solo. And I don't know why. I mean, I'm just a huge Dash fan, but I'm like, oh yeah, this is kind of what it would feel like if you had Dash Rendar and you had Solo, because I look at Bylert as Dash Rendar during the times between Empire, Return of the Jedi. So it's cool. It's like he's trying to fire his pulse blasters. And he's realizing, oh yeah, I gotta let him charge. Run! And it's just this funny moment. It's just,
very Han. And,
yep.
Yeah. So.
Yep. But that's all I have to say about this one there. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to see an arc entirely on Kashyyyk. Just Chewie, all in Shuriwook. maybe one issue. Give me one issue. It's all in Shuriwook. We have to figure out, piece it together, what's happening here. Because Ethan, you can bring the comedy. Part of me wants Mark Guggenheim to write that, kind of like D Squad, that arc, or that short run.
Oh yeah,
that was hilarious. That was all in beep boop bops. That's great. So definitely again off to a great start. Yeah, seeing Alicia just in the New Republic and doing her thing as a loyal New Republic rebel person, and yeah, Rin Zenak definitely being a formidable, interesting sidekick to Luke. Not sidekick, partner to Luke. I'm kind of wondering. I don't ship much, but I'm starting to a little bit, starting to ship
Yeah.
Luke and Rin. She
Wait,
just needs to
but
grow some
does
red
she
hair.
have a girlfriend though?
Oh, maybe.
Frita?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I guess that would be
Yeah.
queer baiting. Well, she died, but that would be queer baiting. I don't know. Okay, fair enough. I don't want to queer bait there. Yeah, I want Luke to get some good times. Let's put it that way. I think he's due after everything. I mean, probably now that I'm thinking about it, though, in this time period, I mean, he's very much Jedi code. I'm going to reconstruct the Jedi, so maybe not. Maybe something.
Huh.
Yeah, just thinking about that. All these things, all these questions that get raised. Yeah. So all that to say, again, a great start. Pick up this comic, get into your pull list, give it a go. Definitely worth carrying forward. All right, another one to pick up from further back. Just from this came about a week ago. Oh, you one more thought on FCBD?
One more thing.
Luke?
We didn't talk about the whole thing with Luke Skywalker. I feel like there's like a very big piece of that because he recognized what that alien was in that ship.
Okay.
And there's some things I've read in solicits that are pretty interesting. So I know you don't read those. I won't mention what they are, but all I'll say is there's some really interesting things out in a certain place that's not very explored in the Star Wars galaxy. And it's somewhere I was hoping that, post Return of the Jedi would go. Yeah. So I'm going, oh yeah. And because it looked like the guy told Luke some information in a cutaway.
Yeah.
And then they were acknowledging that they received information and they needed more. And then the guy like commits suicide and almost kills Luke in the process with the bomb. Right. So it's like, oh my gosh, like what is so important that this guy would risk like to do that to himself? Yeah. Like what kind of deep situation cover story is this guy working for? Like we didn't even really talk about. I think I'd spend the whole 40 minutes on this darn thing, and I'm happy to because there's a lot of good stuff in here because the Fenrir sector, this whole idea of okay, let's talk about this. I know
I know I don't entirely remember that part of the comic, but
right at the end of the story that you have the Fenrir sector and you have this arrogant leader of Pillow or something like that. The planet that's part of the Fenrir sector. She's being ornery towards Leia and being a real jerk and saying, "Oh, you guys didn't help us." Well, it's like, of course we couldn't help you. Our ships were getting destroyed, and they're like, she's basically, you're not good enough to defend our place or something like that. But we all know she's in league with whatever these pirates are that are doing in the first place. So, because we know at the end of the Battle of Jakku, there was a post-credit scene essentially, and it was something to do with this whole sector of space. And somebody was offering somebody else a bribe, some kind of corruption going on to be like, oh, if you don't want to be part of the New Republic where their system sucks, like you can get all this resources from us. So I thought that was really interesting because right off the bat, it's like, okay, this sector is locked down, almost like the Occlusion Zone in the High Republic, because now you got these guys going, if anybody comes near us, we're blowing you out of the sky. And they show that at the end where there's that blockade runner that is very much going to probably be destroyed. So it's like, oh, there's some really devious stuff that's not dealing with the Empire, but we're not really sure what it is yet. But that gets my interest peaked going, okay, the New Republic can't solve this. Lucas trying, Han's trying, all this stuff is connected. So I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know.
Is the Fenrir sector, is it near the unknown regions? Does it have anything to do with the unknown regions?
I mean, I don't know. I think it's a brand new region. Okay. I've never heard of it before.
Okay. Because I'm like, do they start with a G and rhyme with a board game, and are created by Timothy Zahn, and that we saw finally in Toronto Alliances. That's my
No,
I don't know.
it's not that. It's
not
not.
the
It's
Chris,
not
but-
that. I can confirm it's not that.
Okay.
But I did research, and there's another alien species that comes from that area of space that got revealed.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
it's not the Yuzon Vong either. It's
No.
another deep legend species.
Interesting. Okay. Well, we'll have to have a Legends look back when they get revealed. When they do, can be a day long remembered. But this week is a day long remembered in Star Wars. Yeah, because it's the first ongoing #1 in 5 years. Starting a whole new Star Wars.
And hold a thought on that too.
Yeah.
I don't see anytime soon how we can get another #1 because I mean they have almost unlimited playing room now to play in this playground, because even if they were to get close to the Mandalorian would be way over by that point, because if they could take their time, they can milk the heck out of 1 year. I mean, they milked the heck out of 1 year between Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back. It took them 5 years to do 1 year at a time. So
the Hansel,
they could literally it could be our 30 years our time. I don't think it would, but they have that much real estate to deal with. If they wanted to stick with this region for 10 years, they could.
My guess is they might actually go more in real time in terms of maybe not have a whole month, but have each arc be whatever, bring it forward, and that the goal will be at least something to do with will we first see Coruscant in the Mandalorian, for example, or Book of Boba Fett, or wherever it is, leading up to that, leading up to will we see Luke's Praxia, right? I think that whole story, maybe my guess is that I don't know how much Alex will be allowed to bring all that in, but that's kind of the target point, because it's what we have. It's the tentpole that we have on screen. So leading up to all that, also the Imperial Remnant and everything we have on screen in that and in the books. Of course, the in paper is leading up to the First Order, but that's a ways away. Yeah, but I think all of that, like you said, the Star Destroyers out there. We know there's Imperial Remnant out there because Alex just did a whole thing on it in Battle of Jakku, right? With Battle of Hearts. So I think and we know there's some. I mean, we know Ray Sloan is doing her thing in the in the unknown regions. Speaking of the unknown regions, where we first hear about the unknown regions in the canon, so maybe that all of that with Moff Gideon and Ray Sloan and even Carice Indian, bring her in. She's annoying as heck, but bring her in eventually. She's too young, but maybe the precursor to her. So there's lots of things they can do to play with that can bring it back to the screen in this time period, but remains to be seen because he's starting a new story now. So there we go. All right, we get to move on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're finally good. After I derailed the conversation about 3 times.
It's a good conversation. Not derailed at all. It's the kind of thing we got to think about here on the Track Review Comics Reviews. Also brought in, speaking of the First Order, speaking of the Resistance, speaking of all that, Hyperspace Stories Codebreaker #1. This came out a few weeks ago, maybe a week ago or so. It's written by Ethan Sacks, art by Mark Yarza and Jose Marzan Jr., colors by Nicola Riggi, letters by friend of the show, Comicraft's Tyler Smith, as well as Jimmy Betancourt, and cover by Diego Galindo. Poe Dameron, Ace Resistance pilot, and his droid companion BB-8 are sent to investigate a piece of First Order tech used to decode Resistance messages. Standing between them and their objective is an infamous TIE fighter pilot. Can Poe outfly his enemy, or will the mission go down in flames before it begins? Poe and BB-8 are back for an all-new adventure celebrating the 10-year anniversary of The Force Awakens, and I hope Chris is back for an all-new adventure celebrating The Force Awakens shortly, just dealing with tech issues on his end. But first off to say, this was very fascinating. I mean, a clear moment of how does this relate to Leia's relationship to Poe in The Last Jedi. at in that one, of course, he goes and takes this huge risk, goes off by himself against orders, and lots of pilots get killed, and he gets slapped in the face and demoted, and Emlyn Holdo doesn't trust him. Here, welcome back. Here, he goes off, takes a risk, and goes back and Leia congratulates him. He said, "You did a good job. You did a great job." It kind of brought up, at first I was like, is this kind of questioning what happened in The Last Jedi? And then I thought about it, and I also thought about Luke in at the end of The Mandalorian season 2, like you mentioned, how different circumstances just require different responses. And in this context, Poe is, Poe's hotshot, cocky confidence serves him well. He's able to go off and do that first bit of that mission, and then he's sent on to find this codebreaker, this First Order codebreaker, who is putting all these other Resistance ships in danger, New Republic ships in danger, citizens in danger. And it was fascinating, again, just to see how immature he is, but that he gets away with it because it turns to work out, I think, and hopefully it'll end up working out. He's sending the rest of his squad home. The rest of what's the squadron name? Phantom Squadron? Not Phantom Squadron. Whatever squadron's called.
Black Squadron.
Squadron. Yeah, sending
Yeah.
Black Squadron home. Sending Snap home. And faked the crash, and that was interesting. That was really cool to see him fake that crash onto that planet to get away from that First Order fighter, that First Order ace, and this infamous TIE fighter pilot. And definitely, clearly a Force Awakens at 10 celebration here, going back before the Force Awakens. That was exciting. That was really cool. Kind of these. Again, with Poe Dameron books, tends to bring up the kind of World War I, World War II fighter pilot. With even this TIE fighter pilot has this nickname, like the Ace of something, like the Red Baron or whatever.
Something of Bastine.
And
Banshee of Bastine.
The Banshee of Bastine, having that kind of nickname, those kinds of exciting, adventurous vibes. Again, I'm curious. Again, this is a number one. I'm curious to know if he'll continue to get away with his cockiness, if that's going to end up costing him, or if this is kind of a before image where the real cost comes, of course, in The Last Jedi when he tries to take on that dreadnought and he destroys it, but at what cost? Definitely in response. So this character study, pulling the time back a few years, I guess. The last thing I found interesting was, again, the relationship between the Republic and the Resistance, and how the New Republic isn't going to thank the Resistance for taking action. There's these tensions, this kind of almost a resentment maybe brewing in the Resistance towards the New Republic that, after Hosnian Prime, there's no one to be resentful of. But at this point, there's still this sort of we're putting our lives at risk for you when you're not really willing to lift a finger to defend yourselves against this growing First Order threat. Those tensions coming to play. Leia clearly still already with the Resistance, and so I'm curious if Ethan explores that dynamic as well. And again, another great start. Number one, exciting. It's an all ages book, so that might also play into Poe's character, saying, "Look, kids, don't get that cocky. Look, kid, don't get cocky." Because you might think it's all fun and cool, but the world is more difficult and complex. So, people may not always thank you for taking the risks and sticking your neck out. That might be
that's
part
true.
of the point. So those are my thoughts. What do you think of Hyperspace Stories Codebreaker number 1?
Yeah, this is great, but it's also kind of interesting because in both circumstances of hyperspace stories, they're both going after like a MacGuffin.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the story is kind of the same in a way, where it's like, okay, they both have to go after the object that can't fall into the enemy hands. Like, all right, let's try and do another. Maybe like the editing could like post notes and be like, all right, let's not have these two stories going on at the same exact time. But other than that, I didn't have a problem with it. I think getting to see, now that we are dealing with more stuff in the New Republic with the Mandoverse, getting to see like a couple of those lines that would like be like, oh, the New Republic would not condone this, and then the Resistance are, you're on your own, you're not supposed to be with us. So I like seeing that, because we did not really, when the movies were coming out, it was very unclear. Like, I think most people just thought the Resistance was the New Republic at that point, because there wasn't enough stratification. And that's part of the problem with those movies, is we did not get that proper political backstory of what exactly the Resistance is versus the New Republic. You would have had to read Bloodline by Claudia Gray to really figure that nuanced situation out. So now, basically 10 years since, now we get the proper idea of, okay, this is retroactively a much easier pill to swallow, because we're getting content like this that helps kind of flesh that time out before Hosnian. And speaking of which, I like that idea of Hosnian Prime, and they're being attacked by these pirates, and Poe Dameron comes in just guns blazing, saving the day, cheerful as ever, having a good time there with BB-8. And that to me was really fun. And then even though the story, as I said, is similar to what we have in Bad Batch Ghost Agents with the MacGuffin, I do like how Ethan Sacks flipped the switch. And he basically flipped the script and said, oh no, this is actually a sentient being that is just memorizes intel. I have to get this live person to safety. So now it's become like an actual rescue mission with this child, essentially. So that was really cool. Pulling the rug out from underneath me, going, at least I did not see that coming. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it definitely raises the emotional stakes, to use that phrase, an overused phrase. Definitely, probably going to be a growing moment for Poe. I'm saying, okay, this is really is people's lives, and you got to take things more seriously. I'm being kind of hard on Poe, because Leia's hard on Poe in Last Jedi and Love Last Jedi. Maybe it's part of what this is, but yeah, it definitely, it's going to bring out Poe's leadership potential, I think, in his ability to respond to this if he can. Again, this is a pre-4 image, and this is a before picture, and that's also what's fascinating. And I know Ethan is good at thinking through what a before and an after picture would look like. But yeah, that ending, was a great twist, great change, and it does change how we read the rest of the story. Maybe to my mind, that is distinction enough from Bad Batch Ghost Agents. A little bit. Yeah, they're both kind of spy in the middle of a war. But yeah, we'll see how they play those against each other. I mean, both of these are short runs too. So,
okay.
I think this is 4 issues. Bad Batch is 5 issues. So, I mean, that's the thing. Another thing is MacGuffins are good ways to keep kids' attention.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
I also really got to give accolades to the artist Mark Garza and team, because it's not easy with a static kind of medium to have dog fights in space and make it feel like it's intense and make it feel like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Because we have loss of life here, right? Like there's stakes to this story. There's danger. There's a real kind of, oh my gosh, like anything can go wrong here. And just the speed and the TIE interceptor of the Banshee of Bestine, just all these different confirmed 20-something confirmed kills. Like, we got to be wary of this person
on their mask, which is wild too.
So I really think that they did a great job. So I would assume, but I hope that we do get more dog fighting action, because same with I feel like they did a great job as well, the team that did the Star Wars #1. I really felt like it was a Legends kind of Rogue Squadron story with them attacking that Star Destroyer. So hey, we're eating pretty well. If you're a fan of the Star Wars space combat in comic book form, we're doing pretty good right now.
I mean, even this character in Black Squadron that we had just met, and she just eats it.
Yep.
We kind of feel that a little bit, but we definitely feel the action. You're right. It's hard to do. It's hard to write that, but hard to draw that. But yeah, they pull it off for sure. Again, a great start to this book. And just a 4-issue comic, I believe, 4 or 5 issues. So check it out. Another Poe story, but I think it's already safe to say it's earned its place as a Poe story because it's setting the stage for his character growth going forward, and that's what it needs to do. So, any last thoughts on this one before we move on to our last book? All right, we're staying in the sequel era. Certain film by J.J. Abrams called The Rise of Skywalker, and this is The Rise of Skywalker number 3, written by Jody Houser, art by Will Siney, colors by Guru EFX, letters by VC's Travis Lanham, and cover by Phil Noto once again. Right. The future of the galaxy lies in the wreckage of the Death Star. Rey's mysterious origins finally revealed. How will Poe, Finn, and Chewbacca escape the clutches of the First Order and the ruthless General Hux? An epic clash between Rey and Kylo Ren begins here in the shadow of the Death Star. I'll throw this over to you. It's also a film, again, by J.J. Abrams. What did you think of Rise of Skywalker number 3 adaptation by Jody Houser et al.?
Well, this is a tough one, man, because this came out that same week I got back from Japan.
Right.
I had a huge list of things I had to review, I had to get through. So, unfortunately, I did not give this my due attention that I normally would, because I'm speeding through it to be all right, I got to get to the next comic. The thing that unfortunately is actually a new story. So I had highlighted 3 things in my notes here. I said, first of all, it's cool seeing Rey's parents visible in comic book page, and that's one of the best things about Will Sliney's artwork in these comics is he's been really using his imagination, injecting these images we've never seen before, such as Jannah as a stormtrooper as well.
Yeah.
These really cool first-time images were we're seeing these actors and things we heard about, but we never actually seen them. So that was probably the biggest thing for me out of this comic book issue. Besides the point of a new scene with Rose finding it about, the secret Final Order base or Final Order fleet, and making ends meet, talking a lot oh yeah, they've been skimming this off the records and they've been planning this for basically years and years and years in order to make this fleet of this magnitude and all that sort of thing. So it was good there. And that's what I say every time I think we talk about this. It's just I always point out, oh, we get to see this character doing this that we didn't see before, and it's in their imagination, and they're narrating and they're adding more context sometimes. So it has been a way better experience reading these than it has the Mandoverse stuff.
Yeah, you hear me turning the pages. I actually ended up reading the physical copy this afternoon, over lunch basically. This spread here, this is why Will Sliney's doing this, right? Just turning the page to seeing this, imagining, again, the art by Will Sliney, colors by Guru FX here, seeing this whole dual debate on Kijimi and in Kylo Ren's bedroom. That the prelude to revealing her identity, and it was a lot more engrossing. Even seeing Rey with this here, I will say it even got a little, just being a Palpatine, or her giving the dark side, and then we do see that moment where she's in the throne room here, and I think maybe this is probably what got me to clue into this is you have these trees and with the Wayfinder and this upside down dark Rey and all that stuff. I finally clued in. This is her second Dagobah cave. She has, of course, the Dagobah cave on Octo, where she discovers that who she is, who her parents are, doesn't matter. Here she has this other Dagobah cave, where the other aspect of it, where she has to face the darkness within her and the potential of that, and to say, who her grandfather is doesn't matter, and she has to reject that. And that is, of course, her journey in this film, in the story. And yeah, and Will Sliney especially doing a great job of setting that for us. And Jodie Hauser, I'm sure she gave notes, had ideas on how to do that. We'll say again, it's always a question of what does it add versus what does it. It's just there. Yeah, the medium of it. We have more time with Rose in. We keep on making this joke because it's sad but true. We have more time with Rose in this one issue, in each single issue, than we do in the actual film, and she does more important stuff in each single issue than the actual film. Yeah, like you said, putting things together. She's actually doing work on Dakar there with Leia, figuring it out. And yeah, if we had a bit more of that context in the film, it makes it worth diving into, makes it worth reading once. Again, I'm still like with adaptations, I much prefer original stories. It does feel, again, it feels fresh. I liked it. I enjoyed it, but like I mean the Matthew Stover Revenge of the Sith novelization, which makes it almost a wholly different story, even if it's the same story. Like, can we get to that level, please, at some point? And this wasn't going to an adaptation, but I'd like to see. I don't know. It feels like a novelty to me. I enjoyed it. I'm not knocking it. It's just, I'm just more the energies on the original stories. I mean, maybe the film, I didn't hate the film like some people do, but I don't know. We'll see how this story ends. Oddly enough, though, the whole Palpatine reveal, I just kind of brushed it over because I already know it. It wasn't like any kind of gripping, shocking moment. The real, maybe that's why it's kind of in the middle of this book, because the real emotional impetus is on the Death Star in the throne room. And then I really did like the movement into this cliffhanger. That's another thing this book has done well, is where it's chosen to end the story on a big emotional beat, knowing that what's coming is this duel with Rey. She kills Kylo Ren and then brings him back to life effectively, right? He has this huge moment with his dead father who he killed, and so all that's coming up soon. And so give me a lot for Jodie Hauser and Will Sliney and them to sink their teeth into for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't mind. I like it, but
it's a glowing review there, Matthew.
It's fine. It's good. It's good. It's good for what it is.
It's like I said, it's way better than the Mandoverse ones.
Sure. Again, like that's where all these thoughts are coming from, right? Like sorry to say, the Mandoverse ones are just not worth your money. I hate to be harsh about that, but
well, guess what? They're caught up. There's not really much they can do. Are they going to make an Acolyte one? No. Are they going to make a Skeleton Crew one? Probably not. They skipped over a Book of Boba Fett, so they're not going to do an Andor one. So
they do an Ahsoka season 2, probably
because they already did season 1. But so at least we don't have to worry about the BS with that anymore.
But I definitely agree. It's definitely a huge step up, and Will Sliney especially doing the Force's work in this. So that I enjoy.
That is the heavy lifting. I think Jodie's doing a great job, but it's really, like I said, it's really because of him with the artwork. I'm going, oh, that's cool to look at. Like I didn't think about that because I didn't actually see it before, but I can imagine it, and there's where it is. Like that's awesome.
Yeah, credit to Jodie for the pacing. She's definitely blocked this out. Just what works in the structure and the flow of a comic book. And then Will Sliney just giving us those visuals. So there we go. Fun times. Any more thoughts on Rise of Skywalker number 3? There we go. All right. Well, we're just under an hour. We would have had time for this Kevin Scott news, but I didn't have time to make the notes on it. So we'll get to that next week. I promise. Speaking of next week, we are still catching up. Doing, as promised, Young Jedi Adventures Free Comic Book Day. Jedi Knights number 3, catching up on that. Ghost Agents number 3. I guess Jedi Knights number 3 comes out next week.
Yeah.
And Ghost Agents number 3 that came out today as well, I believe. We haven't forgot about Fear of the Jedi number 3, although I kind of did. It's High Republic. How could I forget about it? Fear of the Jedi number 3 in the whole flurry of after celebration and everything. So we'll do that one the week later along with number 4. We'll just do those two together. Speaking of Calvin Scott, fantastic run. Loving my girl Keeve. So we'll do that. So yeah, then we will be caught up more or less. We're kind of shifting some things around for the week later, but yeah, so that's why Young Jedi Adventures number FCBD, Jedi Knights number 3, and Ghost Agents number 3. Keep that locked next week. All right, hit the hour mark. It's your Iron Cannon podcast, Chris. It's been another fun week, another great week in Star Wars comics. One of the landmark weeks. I think we're all going to look back on it more. The flurry of everything else happening. Like, we're going to look back on this more and say, oh yeah, this was January 2015. I guess it was January 2020. I guess it was.
Yep.
May 2025. Here we are.
Remember all those?
Yeah, they're good.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was gonna wrap it up. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, remember all those episodes where we're getting on here going,
yeah,
oh, they're gonna announce the next run. They're gonna announce it here. I know it's happening. It's happening at New York Comic Con. They're announced. Yeah. Nope. They haven't announced it. Nope. And we were just going on and on for like a year.
Yeah.
And then here we are. It finally has happened. We can put the past behind us, and now we can just say we are in the next era of Star Wars comics, ladies and gentlemen. So next week or next month, that's when the Dr. Aphra series starts as well, right?
Yeah.
That's going to have Luke Skywalker in it. So that'll be interesting. I guess we'll transition from the main flagship into the Dr. Aphra. Yeah. I was actually expecting almost like a Dr. Aphra appearance in this one to where he would then transition to her book. But hey, we're going to see how it goes. I'm excited for that.
Yep. Here's hoping it isn't too confusing. Fun times. All right, anybody, so all that to say, thanks for joining in on another Tractor Beam. Where can they find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me back on my podcast. We have returned, Outer Rim Transmission. We're talking, as you probably would guess, like every other Star Wars podcast. Andor, we're breaking down each arc, or each, I keep saying arc, each arc. I was confusing with acts. There's only 3 acts in anything. But we're breaking out each 3-episode arc. So come back this Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern, where I will just freaking gush about how good these episodes were in absolutely no restraint from spoilers. We're going to go spoiler heavy on every little aspect, talking about it all. So get ready for that. And then also I was a guest on Around the Galaxy over last week on Thursday with Pete, Fletzer, and Nick and their crew of people over there at that lovely network over there at the Around Galaxy YouTube channel, talking a whole bunch of random topics, including your favorite movie, Revenge of the Sith. And about how me and Pete managed to do the 4DX screening, and that was insane. I did not like it nearly as much as Dominic, and I will never do that again.
Yeah, Dom.
I got my brains basically. My brains with those seats basically leaked through my ears and my nose by the end of that. There was nothing left in my brain because it was shooken up well after being in there for 2 hours and 20 minutes going, oh my gosh, I can stand. I'm surprised, you know.
At least you didn't get punched in the back by Harkonnen. It's my only.
Oh, we got punched in the back several times.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Oh, it was happening every time a lightsaber, every time somebody would die, we go boom, boom. I was like, oh my gosh, this is rough, man.
No. Yeah, the only time I've done 40X was for Dune Part 1, and no, just got punched in the back by Harkonnen. Thanks. Paid money for this. There we go. No more 40X for me, but definitely more podcasting for me. You can follow me on my personal Instagram, MEUG1138, and it's on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Twitter, NEUG485. Instagram also beaches.foodie, FOODIE. Sorry, you can follow by the Iron Cannon podcast on Blue Sky at Iron Cannon, and on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Iron Cannon Pod. Last week, talked about Andor. This coming week, right here on the Underworld YouTube channel, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, Monday night, we are talking about Andor. It's going to be fun. It's going to be wild. We're getting the guest on that we all want to have on for the show. So stay tuned there. And, of course, here on the Tractor Beam on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Check that out as well. Yeah, keeping it rolling. Next week, in Jedi Adventures, Jedi Knights number 3, and Ghost Agents number 3, and some Andor talk, Andor finale talk. Why not? Keeping it rolling, and then of course the news from Kevin Scott. There we go. But until then, Chris, it's been good. Happy reading.